One of the many things my husband Joe and I share is a spirit of adventure. Years ago, long before we met, Joe went on the trip of a lifetime. He and a friend traveled halfway around the world. One of their stops was in Los Angeles, California, a city of stars and famous boulevards, worlds apart from here. But Joe, like me, is always eager to experience something new. At a restaurant near Hollywood, Joe ordered a chicken Caesar salad, a dish that had become iconic just down the coast in Tijuana, Mexico. He was looking forward to it, but when the plate arrived, there was no chicken, just plain salad. Joe, in his usual polite manner, smiled at the waiter and said thank you. But as soon as the waiter left, Joe turned to his friend and whispered, "This is just leaves. Where's the chicken?" "Well, say something," his friend urged. But Joe wouldn't. No matter how much he was prodded, he quietly and rather miserably ate his meal, grumbling under his breath. And when the waiter returned to ask, like American waiters often do, if everything was all right, Joe, like British people often do, responded, "Yes, it's delicious, thank you," even though it wasn't what he'd ordered. This is a familiar scenario for many, choosing politeness over speaking up. It's a common joke in the British Isles, this aversion to making a fuss. People would rather stay polite, avoid confrontation, and keep the peace, even at their own expense. From a young age, people learned that politeness means not burdening others. As sociologist Irving Goffman, a researcher here at the University of Edinburgh in the early 1950s, suggests, much of human behavior is driven by a desire to manage impressions and maintain social harmony, even if it causes personal discomfort. Many see this reservedness as a virtue, believing they are sparing others from the awkwardness of confrontation. It's not about suffering in silence, but about prioritizing the collective good over individual inconvenience. For sure, Bartimaeus, the blind beggar in today's gospel, was not British. And for the record, he most likely would have sent his Caesar salad back to the kitchen. Bartimaeus wasn't held back by the need to be polite or quiet. He sat by the roadside shouting, his voice cutting through the crowd. He wasn't concerned with keeping to himself. He simply wanted to be heard. And people saw this behavior as out of order. This blind man was a nobody. What right did he have to bother others, especially someone important? To the crowd, his shouting was not just tiresome, but a mark of disrespect, perhaps even a sign that he was disturbed. And yet Jesus hears him, and the man's life is transformed. Despite efforts to shut him up, Bartimaeus' shouting got Jesus' attention, and Jesus stops and calls for him. When asked what he wants, Bartimaeus simply says, "Let me see again." And Jesus heals him on the spot, saying, "Your faith has made you well." Bartimaeus regains his sight and follows Jesus, his life completely changed. It might have been easier for Bartimaeus to stay quiet, because speaking up does take effort. It also would have been more polite and respectful not to shout and be disruptive. But today's gospel gives us a picture of the rewards of being a nuisance sometimes. What this man really needed first was for someone to listen to him. There was something important he had to say, something that couldn't and shouldn't wait. So let's remember that. Sometimes we need to send our salads back. We need to shout to be heard. And we need to be a pest, because the payoff may change everything.